Hi, everybody. I'm Liz Walker, and welcome to From the Heart. Boy, it's been a while since we have last been on together, but I am glad to be here, and I want you to know I'm going to be here at least twice a month in 2026 at noon. So I hope you'll join us because we have some wonderful, wonderful conversations coming up in 2026 about community, about love, about healing. But in the meantime, I've got a question for you. What are some of your favorite year in practices? Maybe you declutter your house, or maybe you come up with new resolutions, or maybe you have some reflective practices, thinking back. Well, that's what we're going to do in the meantime here on From the Heart. All this week, for the next 5 days, we're going to go back, reflect on some of the best conversations we've had in 2025, some of the most inspirational, the most healing, and the most moving, because it's always good to look back before you move forward. We begin with a conversation with one of my good friends, Bob Goff, a spiritual leader, a human rights activist, a best-selling author, and most importantly, Bob Goff is a man who advocates love all over the world. I had the honor of being part of a group that he took to Uganda recently just to spread love. And I want to share that conversation, that experience with you again. Take a look.
President Yoweri Museveni and the First Lady have welcomed plans by Restore International to establish a university and open a giraffe sanctuary.
So we want to thank you, not just for bringing hope to many, but choosing to bring hope to the hopeless.
But we expect really big things to come out of Amuru district.
Yeah.
And as Jody said, we want that place known not as a place of war, but as of higher education. And kind of like Jesus, when they said, what can come out of Nazareth? I want to say what can come out of Amuru district are graduates.
Bob, of all the things that you have done and you do, I find it most amazing that even in other seasons, you've always been this way in the sense of doing a lot of stuff. You're a Renaissance man, I would say. But you've got to tell me how you walked away from being a lawyer, from having your own law firm. We would call this a calling, but was it overnight kind of thing, or was it always happening? How did that transition happen from litigation to focusing on this kind of love?
Isn't that interesting? I think for each of us, we have an origin story of any kind of big change in our life. You certainly have made some big changes and pivots, and there's an origin story. There was a pivot point, but then the things beneath it. But mine was relatively simple. I got out of the elevator on the 18th floor of the Washington Mutual Tower in downtown Seattle, where I had this law firm, and the receptionist said, "Who are you here to meet?" And I said, "Actually, that's my name right behind you on the wall." I realized I hadn't been in my own office for almost a year. Now I live in San Diego, and I'd flown to Seattle each morning, but then I'd done my work and I flew home to San Diego each night. And then the next morning I'd get up and I'd fly to Seattle, I'd do my thing, and I'd go home, always in the last seat of Alaska Airlines. But there's something that I realized I've been so drawn away from my capabilities that they seem foreign to me, and I seem foreign to the people who work for me. And so that was that time. It happened to be on a Thursday, and I quit stuff on Thursday. So I got everybody together in the big conference room and I quit. I just took the key off my ring. I gave it to a guy who'd worked for me for a decade and a half, and I said, "It's all yours. You don't owe me a thing." And he said, "Are you kidding me?" He didn't say kidding, but that's what he meant. And I'm like, "Man, it's all yours." And I've never gone back. I've been clean and sober on being a lawyer for almost 12 or 15 years, I think. Wow. It's crazy.
Now, how much time between that move and love To me, Love Does is the most transformative thing you've ever done. The book.
I was like writing because I had 2 hours and 40 minutes was my commute each way, each day. And so I just started writing down stories, things that made sense to me. And I really, faith was never part of my upbringing. And I didn't know anybody who went to church. I didn't go to church. I didn't know anybody who knew anybody who went to church. But then I met a guy named Doug, and we were out shooting pellet guns, and one day he was at my side, and then he was gone. And I was like turning around to see where Doug was, and I saw the scope of his pellet gun from behind a tree pointing at me because I had become the next can. And he shot me like it went in me, Liz.
Really?
Like not just like a paintball like bruise. Like, and so now we're putting leaves and mouthwash and stuff on this, and he's pulling the pellet out of my belly with some tweezers. And he's telling me about Jesus. I'm like, you shot me. I didn't think you could do that. And this, so I had such a whacked friend to begin with, but he was actually the most authentic representation of somebody. While he had flaws, as do we all, he just was so authentic in the way that he engaged people. And so it made me curious about this faith thing. And that was the beginning of this journey, like of faith. And it was new to my parents. Faith isn't a big deal for them, and grandparents it wasn't. And so there was something really interesting. And then I found in the back of a bus that I was on, there was this book. It said good book. And I'm like, I could use a good book. And I opened it up, and it was a Bible.
Mm.
Code. There was a kid, and he was on his dad's shoulders. I remember the picture. And so I'm looking for the first time through Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and it's all the same story. I'm like, average book at best. Uh, but then I got to the part about where there was somebody that actually cared for people that were around them. And I think something just clicked in that. And it became this journey that I'm still I'm in the third grade on that, but I'm just so curious still about what could be possible if we cared for each other in really simple, practical ways.
The way you interpret what I believe is the whole Bible is Love Does, though. This is something
Yes.
you do. Explain that theology a little bit more for me, the way
Yeah,
you.
well, I remember getting to the part about the 10 leapers, and I'm like, why were they leaping? And then I'm like, oh, lepers. I didn't know. Like, I'm like, so just that curiosity from a really early stage, both in matters of faith and then matters of civil disobedience. I wonder what would happen if we decided that some of the things that we decided were going to be normative did not need to be normative. So the country of Uganda, for instance, in this 25-year civil war, 40,000 young people abducted by the Lord's Resistance Army. And then the idea, but like, what if we just stopped playing by the rules and we just started going to the places where the bad guys have been calling all the shots, and to say, well, no, we're just not going to do that anymore. And so, and not with asking people to sign petitions, and I'm not lessing that has a role in society, but what if we were like to actually engage, one of this like must be present to win? And then forget about going across the ocean. What if we go across the street? What if
Right.
we just start loving the people that are right there? Because I've met plenty of people that want to go to the ends of the earth and tell people about Jesus, but they've never been to the end of their block. And
Mm.
so I'm not critical of that. It just makes me think, well, as for me, I'm going to go know all of my neighbors by name, like Cheers, the place where everybody knows your name.
Right.
So what if we made these places and we're not grouped by political ideologies and positions on people and issues, but we say, like, God makes people, people make issues, people aren't issues, people are people. And so what I want to do is create and be fascinated. And then I meet people like you that are like blowing my mind constantly.
You are blowing my mind, and you do practice what you preach in your neighborhood. But I had the honor of going with you to Uganda. And I don't think I would have ever gone if it had not been the invitation that your organization put out. Because it is well, I don't want to say it's a scary place. It's a different place. It's run pretty rigidly, right? You would agree with me there. But how did you get there, and how did you get them to let you do this huge project? A
Is that
school and
crazy?
college.
Yeah, you just show up and do the next thing. I think just like everybody who's listening, I would say you have an opportunity. If you think of like X and Y axis on a graph, you'd say the X axis from left to right, kind of up and to the right. These are all the things that are ambitions of yours. It could be world peace, it could be learning how to ride a unicycle, whatever it is. These are all the ambitions. And then the Y axis, the one crossing it, are the opportunities. So where an X and a Y crosses, that's where I want to be. Where an ambition and an opportunity meet, I just want to be there. So 25 years ago, it happened to be Uganda. There was, some ambitions that I had to be helpful. And then there's an opportunity to be helpful. I'm like, well, then let's go do the next big step. And then I like kind of like, I'm not a big McDonald's guys, but the idea of like supersize that. What if you went just one notch bigger? Rather than just doing things because of the power of justice in a community, what if you got to know the people that are meting it out? Like get to know the Chief Justice, get to know the people in positions of power. You sat with the First Lady of Uganda, like, and then things happen. I mean, you were there when we asked for 6 giraffes and we got 6 giraffes. So, like, that's crazy.
It
But
is crazy.
it is great, but if you have this idea, I want to take a kid who lives in a hut in northern Uganda, which used to be known for wars, and want it to be known for education. We want to take these kids from diapers to doctorate. So just the next step. And it just as I'm hearing myself talk about it, it sounds like this big grandiose thing. But what if you just make a pie for a neighbor and you don't even have to do a good job at it? But just the fact that you cared enough. I record not people's birthdays and anniversaries, all remind myself 1 year from the worst day of their life. And then I call them up and I don't say, this is 1 year from the worst day of your life. What I'll do is I'll just say, look at how far you've come. I was just thinking about you today. Maybe they'll put together that this is the 1 year anniversary of the worst day of their life. But what if we call the people to say, look how far you've come. Look at these things, these character traits, that the hope that you've shared, the impact that you've had, to just tap people on the shoulder, not to blow sunshine at them, but this idea of remember, look at how far you've come. Like, what a gift we can give. And you don't need to go anywhere to do that. Think of it,
No,
your carbon footprint will be very small to do that. Just go across the street.
and that's a wonderful idea, and you inspire us with that. But nonetheless, you have done it to the max. I mean, to go to a country where how many kids are being educated because of your organization now? Thousands, I've seen this campus.
Yeah, we did. 2,000 people, the kids that were there last year. There's more of them. There's about 400 more than were there when you were there.
Unbelievable.
So there'd be
Unbelievable.
3,500 people plus a couple hundred teachers in Uganda. Then we've got a school in Afghanistan where when the bad guys come, they have the sewing machines out. And when the bad guy leaves, they get the laptops out.
I love it.
It's like
I love it.
awesome. 300 little girls learning how to read and write. And it's all about these brave Afghans, these brave Ugandans, these brave Somalis in Mogadishu. 3 schools teaching mostly girls, but some little boys because like girls have like societally have been just kept back. And we just want to flood that zone.
I read somewhere, or actually I saw a podcast where this guy said that you asked the Taliban to allow you to teach girls. Is that true, or is that just a myth?
It's the people that are in leadership right now in that city, their response was if you want to make a headline, then no, you can't operate that school. But if you want to make a difference, then yes. But if we
Wow.
don't want to see any headlines. So just like that's the whole idea. Just don't make a big deal. no capes. Remember like one of that superheroes Pixar movie, there was that one character that kept the superhero was saying, "What should I make my uniform look like?" And
Yeah.
the Edna was her name, and she kept saying, "No capes." So just so if we could just go into the world with all of your chutzpah, and whether faith guides your steps or a social justice empowers you, your love for humanity, like whatever the return address, like get out there and then just do something. Don't just offer commentary on it. Commentary is good that leads to action, right? This idea love is never stationary. I actually ordered some stationery that says love is never stationary because I'm just silly. So, what I want us to do is to actually move on it and move across the street. Just take the next bold step.
Do you ever sit back in awe of what you did? Because you make it sound kind of simple. Just take the next step and the next step, and suddenly you've got this huge campus. But do you ever get overwhelmed by how blessed you are in doing these things?
You know what? The first thought when you were mentioning Uganda now, then these slides come to mind of these brave Ugandan men and women who it's easy to take curtain calls when there's 2,500 people there, but these are the same people that were leading this when we had 9 kids. And they're just as faithful with 9 as they are when they're getting all the recognition for having accomplished a lot. And so I think of Burkina Faso. We've got a 3-story school that's been built, a really brave man that oversees this thing. Boko Haram is 2 blocks away, but he knows why he's doing what he's doing. And I think that's just such a healthy thing for you. That would be one of the outstanding characteristics of you, Liz. I think you're usually just super aware of why you're doing what you're doing, wouldn't you say? If you have a keen idea. Like I start out, some people have a gratitude practice and in other ways they start the day. So even for your listeners, try to think back, what was my first thought this morning? And mine wasn't about whether it was somebody's birthday. Mine is this: nothing to prove, nothing to lose. And that has been such an orienting. I didn't read it in a book. It just makes, I got nothing to prove to strangers. I got nothing to prove to people that are tracking with what we're doing. I've got nothing to prove to God. He knows what it is that I'm up to. He knows how deeply flawed I am. He knows all my little picadillos and big picadillos. So nothing to prove and nothing to lose. I'm not hanging on to my stuff. I'm not hanging on to, like, you can have my old pickup truck. It would serve any thief right. It would just break down on them. So it's just such a great thing to have an orienting principle. And then the second thought is this, and I learned it from a buddy that helps kids like kind of like lean into like their formation, and he has them make their arms like this, and he says, "I am strong," and then he makes them stand like a superhero and say, "I am brave," and then he says, and to have some say, "I can do it." And so even at, I'm not age 66, I prefer to be level 66 because it sounds so much more advanced. So even there, I'm like, I am strong, I am brave, I can do it. And I hope that for your listeners, that if
Yeah.
you're facing something really difficult, a challenging relationship, some real financial stresses, some real life, real time worries about somebody who's in some really dire circumstance, to just say, I got nothing to prove, I got nothing to lose, but I got nothing but time. I got nothing but time for people. And I think if we could uh, not operate in that scarcity mentality, that I don't have enough money or I don't have enough time, because when I usually say I don't have enough time, it's usually I don't have enough compassion. That's what's really going on. And I'm not trying to beat up on myself, but if really get to what's going on there, when I say I don't have time to respond, it's because I don't have the compassion to respond. And so
Right.
what I want to do for me, not for somebody else, I want to up my game. Nothing to prove, nothing to lose, nothing but time.
Always up in your game. One of the things I think that holds me back or holds a lot of us back is fear. We're afraid that we can't do it. And I've heard you talk about fear versus love. Can you just give me a little bit of your theology
Yeah.
on that?
Well, think about that for somebody who's upbeat as you. Like whatever it is that you're drinking, like I want that by the gallon because you just effusive, like you're just joy on wheels. And yet you're a deep thinker and you have the ability to access deep emotions. You like feel, you're not just unicorns and confetti, like you have the ability to access this wide range of emotions. So, what I want to do is see what the return address is on the things that are influencing me the most. Do you get as much junk mail as I do, Liz? Like I get it by the foot. And what I do is I just look at the return address. If things are to be believed, all the emails that come into my inbox, they say, I'm the only surviving relative of some king of some obscure country. And if I'll just send them my bank account number, they'll just transfer. So what we've learned is that you can't trust what's going on. And so most of our decisions, both good and bad, are either find their origins in love or in fear. The return address of the what I'm doing is because I'm afraid, or it's prompted by love, or some weird cocktail, a little bit of a mix of both. If we can just have a moment of pause, add one beat to it, and to say, what's the return address of that? Why am I doing what I'm doing? If we could just as a society, and forget the society just for Bob Goff, level 66, if I could just add a beat before I respond. Then what I'll do is be able to access what's going on right now. Is this me, a little afraid Bobby Goff, or is this a loving version of level 66 Bob? Can that person respond? And adding the beat changes everything. Can I tell you a funny story, Liz? I
Please.
was in the Midwest not long ago, and there was 600 cowboys in the room, and they all had cowboy hats on, and I was the only guy with a baseball hat on. And when people find out I'm from California, they'll say something just to it's all in good fun, but they'll say he's a couple of fries short of a Happy Meal or whatever. They'll just rib you a little bit. And then this guy walked up to me and he says, I don't think your lid's on right. And I was thinking, like, what did I do to tick you off? And then I realized the coffee cup I'm holding, the lid wasn't on right. He was just trying to be helpful. And so that would be a great example of just add a beat and then you can receive what people are actually giving you. So instead of like going on guard to say like, oh, this is just a guy trying to be helpful. And so could add a beat and to say, what's the return address of what's going on right now? Is this love or fear driving this? Am I trying to win an argument with not this person, but the last person I lost an argument with? And I'm trying to win it doubly in this one because I didn't like what that felt like. So I'm really going to say, you can't do that to me. And like, if I add a beat, a better version of Bob shows up.
I have watched you closely in this trip to Uganda we took, and when we came out to meet you in California, and you never have negative moments. You always approach the world with this kind of open armed thing. Part of your secret, though, I think, is your lovely partner. How
Oh,
is
sweet
sweet Maria?
Maria.
How is your wife?
Well, we've been married. We just celebrated an anniversary last month. So it's 39 years, 1 month, and 16 days.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm counting up, she's counting down, I think. And we're wonderfully different as you've experienced. Like she feels very comfortable about you and some of the friends that were with us. Um, but she is really clear on what her world is about. She's clear about what she wants. It's me, the people we made, the people they married, and the people they made. That's
Mm,
it. That's her world. Now, my world, like yours, is
yeah,
includes a lot more people than
yeah.
that. But that doesn't make her feel like she needs to make her worldview my worldview. So she said, go be you, and I'll go be me. And if you want to go be with everybody, that's terrific. I'll be right here when you get back.
Yeah, but it
And so,
works. Whatever you got
Yeah.
going works really well.
It's actually been really good because I'm not trying to be like her and she's not trying to be like me. We're trying to actually express our faith, our hope in love to the
Mhm.
world. So saying she does hers by expressing it through to me and the people we made, and the people they married, and the people they made. And you and I want to express hope in a little bit different way to different people. Yeah. I want the guy at the tire store. I want the gal that's serving fast food. That's who I want.
And you
People
got
who
them.
are church adjacent or faith adjacent. They're just like, yeah, whatever. Like, I just want them to know, man, just like you're welcome. And I got no agenda. Because as soon as love has an agenda, it ain't love anymore. And I
So
think I've seen you demonstrate that so well. You come with no agenda other than being present and loving people.
what I haven't done, which you've done, is you make yourself so accessible. Are you still giving out your home, your cell phone number to
Yes.
people?
I had to put it on silent because it's gone off 3 times while we've talked. Yeah, so I put my cell phone number on the last page of every book. So there's 3 million people who have my cell phone number. And I get all these calls. I bet I've talked to 15 people this morning, but usually just for a minute. And you can tell some people are kind of verbal processors. So if I say, oh yeah, just have a minute, but how can it be helpful that you thought it would be? Like
Go
that
with
just,
the
but
flow.
living in constant anticipation. And if you live the kind of life and love the kind of people that you love in the way that you do, you're going to be constantly misunderstood. And people won't necessarily argue with you or troll you, but what they'll do is they'll shift their head just 2 degrees. Go like, I don't get it. And I get that 2 degree shift every single day. I
I love
sometimes
this.
I don't even understand myself, but I know why I'm doing what I'm doing. I understand the return address. I think these 3 things. I got nothing to prove. I got nothing to lose. I got nothing but time.
I
And
love
then,
it. I love
and
it. And I love the way you just rolled with this punch of my
oh, this is so awesome. I love it. You couldn't make that stuff up.
no, I couldn't make it up. Two more questions because I'm loving this interview, but I want to know, I heard you say something about strategic whimsy. Strategic whimsy. Is that a phrase you've ever used
Yeah,
or
yeah, constantly. Because I think sometimes people meet me if they don't know some of your backgrounds, and like the some pretty sort of like death penalty cases against witch doctors and like some pretty heavy stuff, then they'll meet me and they'll think that this is somebody who isn't serious about it. And so I definitely have 2 shots of the joy. But it's not just all unicorns and confetti, that underneath that is a mile of strategy. In other words, you have a clarity about why you're doing what you're doing. You know where you are roughly on the timeline. You don't know how many days perhaps that you have to live, because that kind of depends on the guy driving the other car. But you do have this sense that time is short, and at level 66, there might be hopefully a level 76 and 86, but there's probably not going to be a level 106. And so with the time that I have left, I want to leave it all on the field. And so some of those practices you do daily, the first thing you think about when you wake up in the morning, how you deal with gratefulness. You could have met the people at the door and said, guys, you're just messing everything. Can you just go away? But instead, you say, come on in, light them up, let's hit the alarms. And you found joy in that instead of being a little bent out of shape or curt or whatever. And these guys walked away feeling like, I wonder who she is and why she's so nice.
and
And
who's that
wouldn't
guy
that,
she's talking to?
yeah, and who's the happy old guy? So if you are clear-eyed about why you're doing what you're doing, then the strategy point about why you're doing it. I remember in that movie, A Bug's Life, and there's some fly that goes underneath a circus tent. He lands on a turd or something, and he says, "I only have one day to live, and I ain't spending it here." And he flies away. And I feel like some of the petty disputes that are getting us off our game are, if we understood the brevity of our life, no drama attached to it, but just a really sober view of what do you want to be remembered for. because I'm going to end up in a jar or a snow globe. I haven't quite decided yet. I think that's like, stop it, put me down. Um, but what do I want to be remembered for? And I would like to order my days around those things
Mm.
rather than whose hat I'm wearing or what color's this or well, I'm going to boycott this because of that. I'm not saying don't do those things. Do whatever is important to you, but be on message with what you want to be about. And I want to release, as do you, this idea of the power of love when it's taken off the chain. And it's not just this yippee skippy, you call it Pollyanna view. It's a very sober, serious view of the impact we could make if we start greeting people at the door the way you greeted those two intruders. You greeted them like friends. You're saying you're welcome here. It's disrupting everything I'm doing right now. I'm in the middle of a podcast. I'd planned this for a while, but instead of making them feel like an interruption, you've made them feel like a blessing.
You
What
know,
if we took away that from this time together? And then for people listening, don't agree with Liz, go do the stuff that she does.
I have learned so much from you, and I gotta admit that it took me a minute to get to you.
I think I'm an acquired taste. I think Maria's still warming up to me.
But the wisdom that's there that is just extraordinary. What gives you your greatest hope in these? Because these are pretty uncertain times, or at least they're pretty tense times in this country. What gives you hope?
Yes, the possibility of incremental change that I would see in people's. So I'm not trying to get somebody all the way from over here. Another call. All the way from over here to all the way over there. But the possibility of incremental change and what might be possible if we could take somebody who's very strident about their position on whatever to move from here to here. For us, that would be like puny little nothing step. But for them, it's a huge incremental change. And so some of the gatherings that I'll speak at are people you wouldn't expect to find me in that gathering, but the possibility of incremental change that might come from that. But you can poke the bear without offending everybody. You can just poke the bear a little bit and to say, there's another path forward, like that whole idea, great advocacy. It's like you'd get more with honey than vinegar. And I'm not trying to talk people out of whatever they think that's working, but I would say, why don't you realistically look at how it's going with what you find most compelling and to take a realistic look and say, is there any different form of advocacy I can do? And the advocacy that surrounds the way Jesus told people, come and see. I just love bringing people along. Say, come and see.
I am so glad that I was one of those you brought along because I've seen you do some amazing things. I've seen God do some amazing things through you. Last question: why do you wear a Red Sox baseball cap? 'Cause my people are Boston people.
I know. The only time I've really felt at home and accepted for it's been 16 years since my neighbor Carol, who was a diehard Boston fan, she was going to be in heaven by the end of the week. And she said, will you wear my Red Sox hat and represent the Sox for the rest of your life? And so how could you say no to somebody on one of their last requests? And so I foolishly said yes. And I'm in year 16 of I have to change this out about twice a year because they get a little nasty. But I've been wearing this stupid hat for 16 years. I've never been to a baseball game, but it's a great reminder to love your neighbor in just really practical ways. And it's this reminder every time somebody asks me about, hey, how those socks do, and I'm like, I'm looking down on my ankles, and I'm like, oh, Red Sox. Like, oh yeah. Or I go to New York and then they hiss at me because they're rooting for the Yankees. But I think if you knew I was wearing my dead neighbor's hat, like you'd feel super bad. But then I think, well, New York, who knows? But what I want to do is just not be quick to think that I know what's going on under somebody else's hat, like why they're doing what they're doing, because I have a really legit, honorable reason to wear Carol's hat, to remind myself and others that her memory lives alive. 15 years later, I'm sure her friends and relatives think about her. I know I think about her every single day I look in the mirror. And that's just such a great reminder. What do you want to be remembered for? And I don't want to be remembered for the Red Sox. I don't want to be remembered as a lawyer. I don't want to be remembered in a bunch of different ways. I want to be remembered as the guy who is available. Nothing to prove, nothing to lose, nothing but time.
Oh, I love you, Bob Goff. Can I just tell
Oh,
you that?
likewise.
I love you. I love your life. I love your wife. I love everything about you.
Uh,
Okay, I lied. One more question. Another, you working on a new book?
yeah, this one's going to come out, and it's called Love Shows Up. So I'm
Love
just
shows
thinking
up.
about the simple way, just like we're trying to think about a complicated way. And usually the people that have had the most impact on me weren't the brightest people. They weren't the most knowledgeable people. They weren't the most animated people. They were the most available people. And so just that idea that, you don't have to be the richest person in the room or the smartest person in the room, just be the most available person in the room. Each of us in our own way. Maria's version of availability is a little different than mine, but get that X and Y axis out. You have an ambition, hundreds of ambitions, and just say, get your head on a swivel and to say, what's available to me right now? And I'm going to be available to that. Like, dude, do that. And then press repeat, and you'll live a really meaningful life.
Good advice always. It's such a blessing to talk to you.
Oh, this is great. And knowing you are in a fire safe environment makes me even feel
The
my
team met
father's
me.
heart.
I'm good. They met you. All is well. Thank you, Bob Goff.
Well, thank you, Liz. Thanks for being just sunshine in the world.
Well, thank you for being available. I'll see you
Okay.
soon. I hope. My love
Okay.
to Maria.
Yes. Bye
Bye.
bye.
Thanks.